Hi, my name is Chris Bullock. I am the owner of the Wandering Bull. We've been in business 50 years. My dad started the business back when we were running around powwows as kids. Today we're here to talk about lazy stitch. In our series of videos, this one will be just on lazy stitch. The vest I'm wearing is lazy stitch. My son made this probably 5-6 years ago as a gift for me. But I have some other examples here on the table that I want to share with you before we get started in the actual stitch. This nice little Lakota doll, it's a reproduction. The yoke is all lazy stitch, her belt, right down to the moccasins and her leggings. A very fine example. And here's a bag. It's a rosette, but it's done in the lazy stitch style, as well as the top, and then the strap. This piece here was once a pipe bag. It would have a nice long top and quill work at the bottom, but this guy's seen better days. But I just wanted to show you this example. It's a fine piece of beadwork done on brain tan with real sinew, even the little feather detail at the top. That's a form of lazy stitch. It's just not in a straight lane stitch. This is a lane, and each row of beads is a row. So multiple lanes, and we'll do that with the stitch that I'll show you next. The project for today is going to be a necktie. We're going to start beading at the bottom. I'm going to show you that technique. We're going to do a few stitches at the bottom so you get the general idea of how to start, how to end, how to add a thread. And the very bottom where we got diamonds working out is going to look similar to the diamonds here. We're using 10-0 seed beads today, nice cobalt blue that we're going to use for the edge on this tie. And here's white. Let me pull a pile of white beads off so we can use those. We're using 10-0 seed beads, so I can use a 10-0 beading needle with 9-0 thread. Fits through the needle nicely, and gonna put plenty of wax on this guy. And the beeswax helps the thread not tangle. I like pulling it through 2 or 3 times. I have a knot at one end. So basically, I'm going to start at the bottom. So I want to hide my thread. I want to hide the knot. So I'm going to put my stitch on top of the work and go right to the point. So now as I pull that thread through, I'm going to bead over the knot so you won't see it. And basically with this technique, and I'm using smoked brain tan deerskin, I'm only going to bead halfway through. So the back will have no knots and no thread will pop through. So I'm happy with that. So I have put 9 beads on my needle. And as you can see, that guy will line up nicely with my line that I have already drawn. I'm going to keep my needle to the right side of this line. And I did not go through the leather. That's the advantage of the brain tan. Pull that guy tight. So that's the first row in this lane. Another 9 beads. And I'm going to go to leave a little bit of space from my previous row. I want them to bunch up. I want them to be spaced out nicely. And when you start a project, make sure you have enough beads of the particular color for the dye lots. Dye lots will change. Every time we import beads, the dye lots change. You would think blue is blue, but blue does not always come back in as blue. So I have another 9 beads on. Slide it right next to that black line. I like to keep the beads on the original factory hank. Keeps them neat. Slide them right back in the original bag. And if you buy beads from us, which I hope you do, if you keep the bag, it has a code number on it, and we can match that bead for the most part except for a potential dye lot variation, which we have no control over. So in buying beads for a project, make sure you buy enough the first time. It's nice to have extra, opposed to scrambling in the end to fill in a color that is just not available in the country. So once again, halfway through that leather, I like to bend it a little bit to keep that needle straight. Pull that guy tight. And one more row, and then I'm going to jump into the blue. 2, 3, 4. Another 9 beads. And you're better off having a little bit of space between the beads or cramming, opposed to cramming the rows in place. You won't be happy, they'll be bumpy. And so I've basically used 9 beads, and I have working a little bit of a hump. You can see it in this. It's not flat, they're rows, you can see that. So let's go a blue. Once again, 9 beads, and my 9 is a little short. I'm going to throw one more bead in there, so I'll have 10 beads. My blue beads are obviously just a little bit smaller than the white beads. You'll never know the difference if there's 9 or 10 beads. So there's going to be, so I'm going to basically do a blue border except for the white diamond right at the tip. I'll do a couple more rows of blue here. And once again, I'm using 10 because the blues are just a little bit smaller than the whites. And that spacing between the needle and that previous row, I want to give myself a little more room. I'm going to take the needle back out, slide it back in. I like that placement better. So now I have 2 rows of the dark blue. So at this point, I'm going to pretend I'm at the end. I'm going to end it. So my thread is there. So I'm going to sneak my thread into the middle of my work. And tie a quick knot. So I like putting the needle through, wrapping that thread around it a couple of times. Pulling once, do it one more time. There you go. So my knot is not on the back. It will be hidden on the front. I'm going to bead over it. So I'm going to cut this thread off. I'm going to retie my knot that I have my thread right in my hands. And I make a loop, take my tail, stick it through the loop, and give that guy a pull right there. That's what I like. So now I'm going to snip off the excess. Going to wax my thread again. All right, So this lane is going in this direction, but I need to travel this way. So we're going to do an opposite direction. Once again, I'm going to start on top. I'm going to slide the needle to basically where I want to start that first row of blue. I'm going to pull that guy tight. So now I'm going to start with blue. 10 beads. Going to slide them up to here. Go halfway through the leather. See, I'm giving it a little bend. If you were beading on canvas, you would have to go all the way through the leather, pull your needle out the bottom, slide it over, push it back up. Much more time consuming. Brain tan is expensive, but the results are far better than beading on canvas. I'll do a couple more rows here of the blue. I have my 10 beads on. I'm happy with that. I'm going to put another row on, and then I'll take my needle out again, and we'll move upper lane. So I think that's a little tight. I want to give myself more space from this previous row, so I'm going to pull my needle out and slide everything towards me a little bit more. If you cram those beads in, your end result will be bumpy and you won't be satisfied. So I'm fairly pleased with that. So now I'm going to end this here. I'm going to once again slide the needle to the middle of my, underneath the lane. Pull it out. Go through it, wrap around, pull one more time. Wrap around, pull it. Nice snug knot. I'm pleased with that. So I'm going to snip that as close as I can to my work. I don't want that little tail hanging out in the row. So I have my thread in my hand again. Another loop. Pull that guy through one more time. Pull that guy through. I have a nice knot. Cut the tail off. So you get the basic idea. I'm going to travel this row all the way up and then eventually up to the top of the tie. But I want to just show you, we're going to stop back in here. So I'm not going to start underneath. Put my thread on top of my work. So this lane travels this way, and then I had this additional one to go up. I'm going to switch and travel this way. So my diamonds will look similar. Have 9 beads on. The whites are a little bigger than the blues. There we go. I'll do a couple more rows. My thread's getting short. 9 beads on. My 9 beads on. And as you see, I'm not beading right on, my needle is not going right through this line that I have drawn. I want to be offset. That's a guide. I don't want my needle there. I want my needle off of the guide. I'll do one more row of white, and I'll tie it off again, and I'll show you some other stuff. Once again, one more. So when my son was beading my vest, he's basically said that he could do 7 inches of lazy stitch in an hour. So 7 inches in one lane. So if you look at my vest, there's plenty of 7-inch lanes. I don't know how many hours he could probably tell you that he has in the vest. It's worth using quality materials and doing a nice job if you want end results to look good. We produced this book a little while ago. It's rewritten from an old version. And in the back is our lazy stitch techniques. So originally this was done in the early 1950s, before color photographs or that were being printed. So there was some black and white sketches. We kept the sketches. We added some color. And here's the back of the vest that I'm wearing right here. And some other fine examples of lazy stitch. So this is in the Plume book. And we sell it for, I believe, $5-6. Relatively inexpensive. Once again, this is Chris Bullock at the Wandering Bull. Thanks for watching. This is the lazy stitch technique. Most of the Plains tribes did lazy stitch. It was applied to moccasins, vests, all kinds of items. Check us out on Facebook and also check out our Instagram. Thanks a lot and happy beading.